Welcome to The Explainer. So, you're stepping into the job market this year? Let's get right into exactly how you can absolutely ace your 2026 civil engineering interview. We're going to break down how you can stand out from the pack by mastering core technical concepts, navigating the latest modern industry trends, and leveraging some seriously proven behavioral frameworks to prove your worth.
To really understand the stakes right now, we first need to look at the market. And wow, we are looking at a booming global building materials market that is projected to hit a massive $2.33 trillion this year alone. It's growing at a steady rate, and there is just an immense amount of money flowing into infrastructure everywhere, from those massive mega projects in the Middle East to deep retrofitting programs across Europe and North America.
But because projects are reaching this massive scale, the hiring landscape is more competitive than it's ever been. Major firms like Larsen & Toubro, WSP, and AECOM aren't just looking for someone who can crunch numbers in a back room. No, they're demanding a perfect blend of hard engineering knowledge, top-tier digital fluency, and the soft skills required to actually manage high-pressure sites.
So to help you stand out, we've structured this explainer around a clear, four-part study map: technical mastery, modern industry trends, behavioral mastery, and situational judgment.
Okay, let's kick things off with technical mastery, solidifying your fundamentals. Because let's be real, no amount of fancy software knowledge can mask shaky engineering fundamentals when you're sitting in that interview room.
Interviewers always start with the basics, right? They love testing your fundamental understanding of structural design. You absolutely need to know the core difference between traditional load-bearing structures, where loads are transferred directly through the walls to the foundation, and modern frame structures, which transfer loads through a whole network of columns and beams. Make sure you can clearly explain that modern buildings primarily rely on frame structures because they just offer far greater flexibility and strength for complex designs.
And hey, since cement and concrete account for nearly half of the global building materials market, you have got to know your mixed designs. The water-cement ratio is an absolute classic question. You need to confidently explain that it's the ratio of the weight of water to the weight of cement, and definitely mention that a lower ratio, typically landing between 0.4 and 0.6, is absolutely critical for producing concrete mixes that are high-strength, workable, and durable.
Now, beyond concrete mixes, there are two other high-yield terms you absolutely need to have in your back pocket: creep and ductility. First up is creep, which is the slow, time-dependent deformation of concrete under a constant load. This heavily impacts deflections in long-span or pre-stressed structures over time. Second is ductility. You should be able to explain that ductility is a material's ability to deform significantly before a structural failure actually happens. In seismic zones, this is literally a lifesaver. It provides vital visual warnings like major cracking well before a catastrophic collapse occurs.
Moving right along to our second pillar, modern industry trends, adapting to the 2026 built environment. Because once your fundamentals are rock solid, interviewers are going to test how you apply them to the visionary trends shaping the industry right now.
What's truly staggering about a 2026 landscape is the sheer pace of change. I mean, look at these megatrends. Notice that 75% metric? With that many firms actively committing to decarbonization and net zero targets, you must be fluent in green building certifications like LEED or GRIH, as well as low-carbon materials like geopolymers or mass timber. You also really need to show awareness of agentic AI transforming the workforce and brand new compliance standards like the EN 1991 1-8 hydrodynamic standards that were released for coastal infrastructure.
But among all these modern trends, knowing BIM, or Building Information Modeling, is arguably the most critical thing for 2026. BIM isn't just basic 3D modeling anymore. It's a completely data-rich process that drives multidiscipline coordination, 4D project scheduling, and 5D cost estimation. We're talking about a $14 billion global market here. Knowing how to explain clash detection in Navisworks or modeling in Revit gives you a massive, measurable edge over candidates who are still stuck just using traditional CAD.
All right, on to part 3, behavioral mastery, navigating competency-based interviews. Knowing the technical trends is really only half the battle. Now we need to figure out how to actually communicate your expertise and past experiences effectively to the hiring manager.
Here's the reality check. A staggering 78% of modern interviews are now competency-based. What does that mean for you? It means those traditional open-ended answers simply won't cut it anymore. Employers are actively, systematically scoring you on specific behaviors, things like your leadership, your problem-solving abilities, and your adaptability.
But here's the secret weapon to beating these tests. You can reverse engineer the job description. It's like having the cheat code. Before you ever step foot in the room, study the job posting to anticipate exactly which core behaviors they're going to test. If the listing heavily mentions cross-team coordination, you better believe they'll ask you about a time you handled a communication breakdown on site.
So when they inevitably ask for an example of your past work, you need a proven structural framework. The fastest way to bomb a competency interview is by giving a long, rambling answer that completely loses the interviewer's attention.
To keep your answers tight and impactful, we highly recommend using the traditional STAR method. That's situation, task, action, result. Or you can try the IPAR method. IPAR is brilliant because it starts with an introduction. That's a powerful, single-sentence hook summarizing your success before you even dive into the problem, your action, and the result. Think about it, starting with something like, I recently implemented a cost reduction program that saved 25% across the department. Instantly grabs their attention, right?
Remember this key piece of advice. Approach each answer as if you were recalling a story. The whole goal here is to craft a compelling mini-narrative. It should highlight your analytical thinking, clearly outline the exact actions you personally took, not just what your overall team did, and quantify your results whenever you possibly can. Did you deliver on time? Were you under budget? By what percentage? Paint the whole picture with a definite start, middle, and end. And that brings us to our final section, situational judgment, handling real-world scenarios. Let's take those exact communication skills we just talked about and apply them to practical, on-the-spot problem solving.
In the interview, you'll almost certainly be asked how to handle a sudden crisis. Maybe it's a failing concrete cube test, a labor accident, or a weather-delayed project schedule. When faced with these, just follow these 4 steps. First, make sure you understand the scenario completely. Second, evaluate your options based on the company's core values. Third, prioritize effective, long-term actions that put safety first, like checking mixed proportions or deploying weather-independent night shifts. And fourth, always consider the feasibility and clearly communicate the impact to the client or site manager.
Look closely at this example statement here. The absolute secret sauce here? Specificity. Specificity is credibility. Being generic is forgettable, but dropping precise details, like specifying an M25 grade pour, or mentioning 7 and 28-day curing times, that proves your on-site credibility far more than just saying, oh, I have concrete experience. Specificity signals real lived experience to the interviewer.
So, by mastering those core technical fundamentals, totally embracing digital trends like BIM and decarbonization, and confidently structuring your behavioral stories with the STAR or IPAR methods, you are going to be absolutely unstoppable. Leaving you with one final thought based on everything we've covered today. Are you ready to build the infrastructure of 2026?